Welcome to the first 40 Sports Show with the Goon Squad. It is I, Puma, along with Black Thor and Ice Water. We're going to be talking sports this week. Got a lot of sports to talk about. We're going to get it in real quick. Instead of hot topics this week, we're going to go right to the NBA playoffs. It was one heck of a game last night, and Phoenix 2-0 up on the Los Angeles Clippers. But before we go into the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, I want to recap what happened in round two, because there are a couple of teams that we didn't expect to be there, but they're there. Philly was supposed to be there, and Brooklyn was supposed to be there. But I want to find out what happened. Black, I'll go to you first, man.
It's interesting because I thought Brooklyn, speaking on Brooklyn, I thought Brooklyn had enough role players and their players that played well throughout the year that they were called upon, if they were called upon, they could have basically rolled the ship and rolled it to the finals. I mean, that was my thinking. We think about it, Harden missed a lot of time throughout the season. Durant did, and I'm sorry, not Harden, Irvin, Durant. So these players played well. They won a lot of games, but when they got to the playoffs, of course, they basically put the saddle on Durant's back and say, hey, giddy up. And then, Harden came in and these players kind of stood around for the most part. I know everybody talk about Brown missing a shot, but there's other players in that bench they could have went to and got something from. But with coaching and Durant basically stepping up, it kind of overshined. And people, they make this assumption that Brooklyn's going to come back, it's going to be better next year. Not really. Irvin hasn't played a full season in a long period of time. Harden, we know what he does in the playoffs, bro. He did. I don't give stress factor, whatever the case may be. Harden is Harden when you need him in the playoffs, bro. We've seen that year after year. So you're going to have KD basically gunning and trying to make it happen. But I think that's going to be their calling card for the most part. They'll look good in the regular season. They'll get people excited, but when it gets down to it, they'll get bounced out. Probably due to health, and people can blame that, but that's who they are. They're older players. I look at Philadelphia, and I know the general manager coming out and saying that there's 25, 26 teams that want to be where they are. Not really. You might have a couple of teams that want to be where you are, bro. But realistically, you have a coach that cannot make, it's been proven, you've got a coach that cannot make end-game adjustments. You're paying a player that is mentally shot in the postseason. Shot. You're basically paying that no one's going to trade for. Your coach came out at the end of the game and said they can't win a championship with him at point guard. Now, what team is going to basically open their doors and take him? It might be a G League team, but Philly, man, I'm gonna give credit to the center because that brother basically played through injuries and got it done. He made some mistakes, but realistically, he stepped up and he could lead that team. Tobias Harris finally showed up throughout the whole season, whole playoffs. He showed up and played one game, but I don't think Philly basically is constructed well enough, and they're not coached well enough to do what they need to do. Forget the process, forget all that. I think they have to really do some in-searching, and I think we saw that in the playoffs. That's one thing about the regular season, you kind of get away with some stuff, but the playoff, when teams have a chance to basically scout you from game to game and make adjustments, if you can't do the same and come with it, you see what happens to Philly and you see what happens to Brooklyn.
Yeah. Ice, in that Milwaukee series, Milwaukee was really trying to give up that game to Brooklyn, but Brooklyn couldn't just take them out. It seemed like KD's legs, he just didn't have it at the end of the game when he came short on that three. They were D'ing him up. He had a yeoman's effort, just trying to put the team on his back to get maybe Kyrie back for the next series or that. But here's my thing with Philly. And I was arguing with people on Twitter about Ben Simmons, about how they should play him, where they should play him. What really pissed me off, okay, he makes $177 million max contract. What really pissed me off about after the game, the organization comes out and says, you know what, we're going to work with Ben Simmons on his jump shot. So I'm scratching my head figuring out, what have you been doing in the meantime? You knew he didn't have a jump shot. You knew out of college he didn't have a jump shot. What are you doing in the meantime? So there were three areas that I think cost him the game. Embiid trying to do too much, turned over the ball. There was a player on Philly who fouled a three-point shooter. And then you had Ben Simmons, who had a chance to dunk, saw a 5'11" Trae Young coming at him and decided to pass the ball. So it's I know Philly is kind of just heated over this because they've been waiting for a long time. The road was paved for Philly, and it just didn't happen. Ice, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I missed it before, but that's all right. I'm gonna make up for it this week. So I'm gonna tell you though, looking at the Milwaukee Brooklyn series, I even texted you and told you. I said Milwaukee's trying to get us away.
Yeah.
Everybody talked about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant shows you who the hell he was. You don't have to like him. You can say what you want to about him. But when any man plays that the way that he did, and for them to win games knowing that they had the injuries, he left. He made no excuses. He left it out there. And when you have the two-time MVP of the damn league talking about that dude's amazing, tells you what's really going on with him. So, I'm kind of done trying to prove a boy Durant doesn't have to prove himself to me anymore. But from the standpoint of the one thing I saw about the with Brooklyn, and I told some other folks too, Durant needed one or two other people to come with him.
Yeah.
And it didn't have to be necessarily Harden because he wasn't going to be about that. When Jeff Green stepped up, that was like, okay, Jeff Green. Griffin was trying to step up, but he needed somebody else. And when he put him on his back, especially the last game, the one thing that really stood out to me was like certain guys said they were ready, and you just can't put it on one dude. But you got to be ready. It's like when Jordan told Paxson, I'm going to throw you the damn ball. Hit the shot.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Harris all year has been one of the top 3-point shooters in the whole damn league. He had 2 shots, 2 wide open shots. They needed one of those. One of those. He couldn't hit it. They needed just one. And if Kevin Durant foot wasn't on the line, then he would have saved them again. But you can't win it by yourself. And they needed somebody else, and it just wasn't there. Milwaukee, to me, won that by default. I mean, they won it, they earned it, but they, the team that we talked about, you could just see even points where Giannis was just folding like a tent, bro. I was like, he was fumbling the ball. They were missing free throws. And I'm like, how can you be the 2-time MVP? And this might just be league wide. You're missing killer free throws, bro. I don't get that. I do not get it. I mean, you can say that too, but I'm gonna say the same thing about Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like he got a clock in his head. They start counting him down, and I'm saying to myself, Brooklyn, they were trying to give it to them, but they didn't. So, Milwaukee is going to move forward and they advance, and if they don't want it, it's kind of like Tom Brady. He'll take it, and that's what those type of 100s. You don't want it,
right.
We'll take it.
Right.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Philadelphia. I'm going to say this, and I've been saying this a long time. I even told you this about on 2K. I told you this on 2K. Everybody's talking about Ben Simmons being a point guard because he's 16, he can dribble the ball, and he can't shoot, or he does real well. Doc Rivers, I think, let them down from the standpoint of what he's been through, who he's coached. He's supposed to deliver them at least some guidance, how to win. They're missing something. They're missing a leader. You can say about what you want to about Embiid. Embiid is like Giannis. At the end, we're going to give you the ball and just let you take over. That's the MO. But Doc Rivers, it's kind of like, you need a point guard, bro. Ben Simmons is not a point guard. I've been saying that forever.
Yeah, I've been arguing with people on Twitter about that. He's a stretch 4.
Yes, or even a 3. You put Ben Simmons in the lane and let him run like a gazelle. Nobody can stop him. He can finish at the rim. He stays inside, 10, 12-footer. He's great. He's great. That's what he does. And then occasionally he brings the ball up and dishes it. But when you say he is our point guard, he was thinking too much. He wasn't even looking to score. He was overpassing. That's not a point guard. I said that from the beginning. You look at him and you just put him on the wing. Let him fill the lane along with Embiid, get you another little shooter. That's why they can say what they want to. But you put somebody on there like a Jimmy Butler, bro, it changes the whole, the inner scope of the team. It just did. Yeah. They had no answers. Tobias said, no, you give all this money away. And Doc Rivers looking like, well, we're going to work with him. No, you need to work with him in another damn position.
Well, he wasn't concerned with the shooting at midseason. I'm not concerned about Ben Simmons.
And I'm fine with that, but if you put him at the right position, you don't have to worry about him shooting a jumper. That's what I'm saying. He's out of position. everybody's enamored because he can run. You got to be a thinker, man. And when I saw that, when it came down to it, again, Atlanta, were talent-wise, were they just as good? I don't think so.
No.
But they wanted it. They wanted it. When you come out with Ice Tray and the other guys, Capella trying to ball, they matched them for where they needed to be. They wanted it. They were hungry. They showed you that against the Knicks. They wanted it. And sometimes the other team may talent-wise may be better than your team, but if you play well enough to collectively as a unit, you'll win. You will win the game, and that's what's happening. You seeing that right now with the whole thing, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but you seeing that with Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Phoenix wants that, man. They want it. You can say, oh, well, they ain't got this, I don't know. Okay. What you do know is they want it. They want to win. And sometimes that dog and that intestinal fortitude will take you over because they want to win. And that's what I think we're seeing in a lot of this. I mean, with Brooklyn, we'll talk about that later, but the teams that have advanced so far, the majority of them, particularly Atlanta, they want to win, man. Brooklyn wanted to, but you had to have, and you can talk about the guy, Brown, that missed the shot, or to me, kick the damn ball out, bro. Yeah, you was rolling. You was 7-8 early, but it's showtime at the end. You got Kyrie Irving over here, and you got Durant over there. Kick it out. That's basketball. That's how you play basketball. You and I both know when you play ball, you got a hot guy or you got your main guy. I don't care, Brown, you've been, okay, you did do well in the first game. You were doing well for them. But on whatever game it was, 1 or 2. But in the clutch, that's above your pay grade, bro. Kick it out. Kick it out to you stars. That's how it's always been, bro.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been. And some of these things is straight basketball that we're seeing doesn't make sense. And now people are saying some other things, but a lot of it is the teams that were supposed to win, people failed to show up in crucial moments, and the other teams said, you know what? You don't want it. We're going to take it. I know y'all don't think we're supposed to be here, but damn it, we're going to win.
We're here, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I thought that Atlanta played very smart against Philly. You had two guys who wanted to be on an all-defensive team. They weren't talking about championship. They wanted to be on an all-defensive team. And Capella was just finding his way open in the lane. That cannot happen with Embiid. You got Trae Young just doing what he can against that defense. That cannot happen when you're supposed to be the number one defensive player on team one or the number one team in defense in the NBA. It just can't happen. Black, you want to say something?
I just want to say something real quick about Ben Simmons, man, because I think, I hear what Ice is saying about having run, but you don't run and gun that much in the playoffs, bro. And to me, it's like, this was the problem I have with Ben Simmons. Everybody placates to him. You placate. He can't shoot, run and gun. No, the motherfucker's a professional. And he hasn't been in 3 years. He's been overhyped. Excuse my language. Hope the kids aren't listening. He's been overhyped. And the point is, when you put him in a situation, you see it for what it is. Yes, everybody talk, well, he had 42 against Utah. He ramping down and score. He gave the ball to nobody. If you put any professional to do the same thing, anybody go off once or twice. Watch him on a daily basis as he plays. He has no game. He has none. We're enamored, or I'm not going to say we. NBA's been enamored with his height and his potential. And he hasn't showed nothing other than his hype, bro. In the past 3 years, if you go back and look, this is nothing new. He's been doing this every year. He give a couple of games, we give a little flashes, but on a nightly basis, he gives you nothing. He gives you a few assists, he gives you nothing. Half the time, he brings the ball up and he passes. Now, if you're telling me that he has to be a stretch 4 or 3 to score, then get down and do what you got to do, bro. I don't care if you bring the ball up now. Pass the ball, go down and do what you got to do. It's deeper than that. The cat doesn't have it. He didn't play that long at LSU. He hasn't matured. His game hasn't grown since AAU basketball. And nobody wants to be honest about it. Philly overpaid him on potential. He has none. I said this 2 years ago when he had a chance to basically buckle down and get a jump shot. He wanted to go play in a foreign league and hang out with the Kardashians. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
in his head.
Too.
Huh?
That might have done him in too. Those
but in his head, Ben Simmons thinks he's something else. And what has hurt him, literally, how the heck he's been an all-star 3 years? How? I mean, That's hurt him. So he thinks in his head, oh, I'm better. No, because you're playing feeling you have a name. You came in with a name. He was supposed to be the next LeBron. They've been waiting for it. His game, it stinks, bro. I don't care what doctor. You can't give away no jump shot in 4 or 5 months. You just can't do it, baby. I mean, realistic, the NBA is not built that way anymore. You got to go on your own and do this in the office. That's what the great ones do. Stop babying and seeing for what he is. The brother stinks. I'm just being honest. Because in the playoffs, you got to go, you go get yours. It's not about walking around, I'm not a point guard. Nobody wants to hear that. I like what Shaq said at the end of the game. If he was on that team, he'd be kicking his ass. He would be kicking it. That's old school basketball. Bro, you're making $177 million a year. And you're afraid to put the ball up? You don't want to take a jump shot? And real quick about Giannis, how you a professional, bro? I don't care how many MVPs you won in the past. You can't hit a rim at a free throw line? You can't hit the rim. You're shooting air balls. I mean, to me, that's the sorriest thing about the NBA. Some of the basic fundamentals you don't even see anymore. But get just basic fundamentals. Even last night, I might be jumping ahead. You're watching a guy. How this guy gets to the rim and does a jam? Nobody put a body on him or box him out. Nobody. Where's the fundamentals in that NBA? And that's what you're seeing.
I'm gonna tell you,
fundamentals.
Like, I'm gonna tell you where the fundamentals and all that is because when you have commentators, Van Gundy knew the rule that's not a goaltender. You had Charles Barkley. I was just seeing there. I didn't know that was a rule. I thought that was goaltending. I'm like, you don't know the rules. That's why I keep pushing Ice to become a coach. Me and Black will be your assistants. You got to know the rules of basketball. And when I saw it, somebody texted me like, that's goaltending. I'm like, no, it's not. It's an inbound.
No.
There is no goaltending in the inbound. It's a great play. It was drawn up really perfectly. And so you got folks who don't know the game. They're looking for the flash and dash. They don't know the rules or anything.
And that's the NBA. You just said the NBA is more flash and dash. And that's how I play. Like Ben Simmons can last for 3 years and get a max contract. Because about flash and dash, what you did in the AAU, and you can come over, and that's what it comes down to. I'm going to give Lonzo Ball credit. Because the first year Lonzo Ball came out, that brother couldn't hit the rim that good. Look at him play now.
Yeah.
What's the difference between him and Ben Simmons? He wouldn't worked on his craft. That's the only difference. Ben Simmons, even in his interview, oh, you know, I have my team down. Bro, no, you need to go do some work, bro. Seriously. I mean, if I was owner of Philly, I'd be looking to rip that contract up because you can basically get one contract. That contract can be ripped up in a heartbeat, bro. Fine if you can do what you got to do to rip that contract. Ain't no way in the world. I'm paying you that type of money. You don't want the ball? Seriously.
It looked bad. It looked really bad. And I don't know if he's going to get a trade or anybody wants him at this particular time. But let's go to Phoenix and the Los Angeles Clippers. And tonight, Milwaukee and Atlanta kick it off. That should be an interesting series. Let me go to you, Ice, about what you're seeing in that series.
Yeah, when you look at Phoenix, man, they are playing well as a unit. And I guess back to the point about what just quick with Simmons is, you got to demand it, and they don't demand him to play a certain kind of way. And when I said he can fill the lane and run, I'm saying move his ass to the third, 3 or 4 spot. That's what you got to do. You got to recognize it from that standpoint. But when you look at Phoenix, when they first came out before Chris Paul showed up on the scene, it was always being labeled as it was going to be Devin Booker and Ayton's team, right? But you needed that, and that's part of what Philly problem is now. You need people to come in, if it's a point guard or somebody else, to kind of work with the guy and tell the guy about what his position is. Ayton is flourishing because he doesn't have to be a top dog. He can play the third, be the third wheel coming in like that, and Chris Paul like that. And collectively, with Monty Williams, is like, look, man, we just need you to be the best you can be. That's what it is. So he's grabbing 22 points, grabbing 18 rebounds because he's just being himself. He's just playing basketball. Devin Booker's stepping up, doing what he has to do. And collectively, as a unit, those younger guys are rallying to it. And I told y'all before, I mentioned this to you before. Y'all think I'm crazy. I told y'all Jay Crowder. I've been screaming his name forever, and he putting in work. That's how you collectively put a unit together in a basketball team. That's how you win. And then Monty Williams, who is the coach of the year. No doubt about it. I know the New York people.
I agree.
You can run with that, New York, and y'all can be mad at me. But he is the coach of the year. You can be the coach of the year because of the factor that he comes in, even last year when they're in the bubble, they 8-0. They show him afterwards. He's like, man, don't even worry about it. We want to be here, but we not. But next year, we coming. We coming for this. We're gonna show them how good we are. That's what you do, man. And that's what they're doing. Clippers without, I mean, a yeoman's effort, because them getting past Utah was a yeoman's effort. You got to take your head off to that. But at this point, they're playing that run and gun game. They're shooting these threes. They're living in dime by them, and they done pretty decent. Guys stepping up. Reggie Jackson stepping up. And Terrence Mann, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Woo! Man, is he playing some ball. They're playing well collectively, but the one piece they're missing, and then we were watching the game last night out west, and I told my brother, he kept saying, well, you need to give Paul George this and that. I said, I've been his biggest backer, but I got to give off on me now. Simply because of the fact that there's Kawhi Leonard's out, right? They brought you here for a reason. I know they got a lot of other players, intangibles or whatever, guys trying to step up, but you are the guy. It's your turn. Sometimes you can't always be the B receiver. You have to step up. If nothing else, he said, well, they're resting him, and you missing these free throws. These other guys are looking for you. They need leadership right now. They need him to say, over here, because you've been in the position. They're giving you the money. They want you to do this. And I asked my brother last night, I said, do you think if Paul George was out, what do you think Kawhi would be doing right now? He'd be leading the team, because that's what he does. He'd be leading the team. He would step up and show these guys how it's done. But you got to take your hat off to Phoenix. Phoenix is on a mission. They don't care. You're going to have to win it from Phoenix. You're going to have to take it. And I'm not sure if the Clippers, particularly without Kawhi Leonard, is ready for that. But Milwaukee and Atlanta, I'm going to just say this. Milwaukee on paper has it where they're supposed to be. This is their easy way to the finals. But if they play like they don't really want it, or they play soft, Atlanta can get them.
Yeah.
Atlanta's hungry, bro. They are hungry. They, on paper, you automatically say, Giannis, we can go through the line and the whole night. We go through the whole lineup, and you're going to clearly say Milwaukee is the better team. But that does not always win. Doesn't always win. In Atlanta, it's like, we're not even supposed to be here. So what do we have to lose? We ain't got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
The pressure's on y'all.
Playing with house money.
Right. And the pressure's now on Milwaukee, because now they're the favorite. They're the favorite to win it all. So we're going to see how the coach, because the coach is like, oh my God, really? Now talk about coaching, we're going to find out. They're the favorite in to win the NBA title now.
Yeah.
The rest of the team's like, when they play Phoenix, Phoenix is like, dude, do y'all want this? You don't want it? Oh my God. I'm just saying, so I think it's going to be two great series, particularly with Milwaukee. I want to see what Milwaukee does with Atlanta. This is their shot. Everybody keeps making these excuses. Like it was Utah's shot. They couldn't get it done.
Speaking of Utah, I think their coach is overrated. I said that a few years back when they were playing against Houston, and they had this brain fart on how to defend Harden and lost that series. I thought they played very dumb down the stretch, and they could have been in the Western Conference Final. But I think it's coaching. I think I'm surprised that Doc Rivers is still the coach of Philly. I'm going to be surprised until next season with some of the comments they were making and what they were doing down the stretch. But the Milwaukee coach, Black, you and I talked, and I'm going to go back to Doc Rivers too. I believe that Rondo coached that team in Boston to win them a championship. I do not believe that Doc Rivers did that. I think Doc Rivers would call a play or say something, because I saw him, they had him live talking to them, and Doc Rivers wasn't giving his team anything to work with to win down the stretch. And I think Rondo was like, bump that, we're going to do this. And he had the veterans that could pull it off. But this Milwaukee coach who had that bonehead brain fart to put Lopez out on the perimeter, and Lopez didn't know how much time was on the clock. I think Milwaukee, if they would have lost, that would have been the play that they lost it to. But what are your thoughts with the Clippers and the Suns and Atlanta and Milwaukee?
I'll start with the Clippers and the Suns, man, because to me, even though I don't think Clippers will win this series, but they put up two valiant efforts, man, in game one and game two without Kawhi Leonard, man. I think that, they kept it close. They had the opportunities to win. And I'm going to give Paul George credit. I'm not going to say he stepped up as a leader, but he didn't play bad game 1 or 2. But, bro, you got to make those free throws.
Knock him down.
You got to knock him down, bro. We're talking a different story if you make those free throws. I'm sorry. You can't bang. I just don't. And it's just, I just don't think certain people are cut out for pressure, bro. And Paul George is not cut out for it. You know, he's a good player when he's a 2 or 3 on the team, and the team is winning by 10 or 20 points. You know, he's cool. But you put in a situation where he has to step up, and Ice is right. Right now be the time for you to go get it. This is where you make your name. This is where you carve yourself in NBA history. Go get it with your effort, bro. And it seemed like he's always waiting. He's just waiting. He goes a little bit, he pulls back. He's just not consistently there. I'm impressed with Phoenix. Now, I mean, Booker's doing his thing, but I'm impressed with the team, bro, because these cats, like I said about Brooklyn, these other players are getting a chance to play, and they're showing up and they're doing it. Now, it's going to be interesting to see when we go to game 3, because the coach of the Clippers, Tyronn Lue, does a magnificent job making adjustments in the game and for the next game. So this game 3 will be interesting. I know CP3 is coming back, and I'm not sure him coming back is going to hurt or help Phoenix. I'm not sure. I don't want to say which one, but I think he's going to try to come back and do too much too soon, and that may hurt him. But if he just kind of comes in and blend in and play his game, they should be fine. Milwaukee, I can't even look at them as being a champion, bro. I can't. I just for something, and I think it's, to me, they're like the Gomer Pyle of the NBA, in my opinion. They're just always so nice. And it's like, bro, I looked at that game. It should have went to overtime.
No.
They had the ball. You had 3 possessions in the last 44 seconds of the game and couldn't get 2 points. 44, you had 3, not 1, 3, and could not. And I'm saying to myself, at what point, okay, when Middleton first shot that bad 3 and they got the rebound back, as a coach, guess what? Timeout, let's call a play. This is the game. Timeout, let's call a play, get something going. And no, you let Holiday, who's basically, they stand out there and everybody isolated. Nobody's moving. Bang, bang, bang. Count the clock down. He runs and ball getting knocked out of his hand. Bruh, call a timeout. If you're any type of coach, call a timeout, run a play. Then when you do call a timeout, like you said, you got him catching the ball at the 3-point line. He don't know what to do. Like, what they want me to do with this? I don't know. Who can shoot threes, by the way? Who can shoot them, but has not been coached up to say when the ball comes in, if you get it, shoot it. It doesn't have to be anyone. Just take it. So it's amazing how they basically survived the overtime and moved to his position. And even another thing about Greek Freak, he's hyperventilating in game 7. What's that about, bro? Are you playing in Colorado? You're playing in Philly. How are you hyperventilating? You're breathing hard. What the hell? I mean, I just hear again the Gomer Pyle. I think Atlanta, I think Atlanta has something for him. I think Atlanta will figure them out. I think the coach will figure them out. And Milwaukee has a way of giving you the game if you want to take it. They did it the whole series with Philly. Even the games they won, they gave them opportunity to take it. And some of those games they won. And if they give Atlanta the chance, Atlanta's taking it. Atlanta will take this series.
Yeah. And some other stories we're going to be following later. Pistons get the #1 spot in the NBA draft. I was reading an article that Brooklyn will listen to trade offers for Kyrie Irving. Brooklyn will listen to trade offers for Kyrie Irving. Yahoo Sports. Check out Yahoo Sports for that one.
What does that say about Kyrie, though?
Yeah.
They're tired of him.
Yeah, already.
They're tired of him.
Already.
Yeah.
And then will Philly trade Simmons, or can they even trade Simmons? So those are stories that we're going to be looking at in the next few weeks as this NBA season winds down. I'm going to have you give your eye test, man, but this checking the pitchers rule is getting out of hand, bro. It's getting out of hand. You got pitchers stripping to their shorts, trying to show the umpires that they don't have any foreign substances on them. And I was watching last night with, I think, Scherzer for the Nationals and some of the other pitchers they're checking. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. They got to get rid of this. Your Major League Baseball report, sir.
We're going to start right there with Scherzer. Scherzer fighting back to letting them know that they're calling for an additional check in the 4th inning because they're checking because he was implicated before in this mess with this sticky substance. let's be real, man. They're going overboard with it. They know what's going on. If you're a good batter, then you'll find a way to get done. And if you're a good pitcher, you're gonna find a way to get it done. Let the game play. Let it breathe. Because even if you do catch somebody, it's only one of so many. I mean, it really is. And I think they're trying to go above board because all of the allegations that were made against the Astros and so many other teams, it's just crazy. Your game people have been manipulating your game for years, and people will still cheer. Let it be, man. Let it be. Nobody's losing it. I mean, you caught the steroid thing late. Everybody was amazed because big, strong guys can hit home runs. You caught that late. You're catching this late, very late. So let it be. Moving over to the baseball standings real quick. American League East. I'm sorry. Boston is in first place. Come back up, Boston over Tampa, and the Yankees in third place. 5.5 games out. Still find a way to hold on. In the Central, we have the White Sox are still leading that division. Cleveland is in second place in the Central. In the AL West, Houston is now taking the lead. They're back on top, and Oakland is actually trailing them in second place. In the NL East, the Mets are in first place. Washington, Atlanta, and Philly are kind of hovering around very close. That still is almost anybody's division right now, trying to see what happens with them. In the Central, the Milwaukee Brewers, like the Milwaukee Bucks, are in first place right now, making some moves. Chicago Cubs are only a half a game back. Cincinnati Reds still kind of finding their way, still early in the game. And in the NL West, the San Francisco Giants lead that division. The Dodgers are 4 back. San Diego's kind of right around that area too, in third place with 4.5 games. Still early, very early. Things are still wide open with all of the injuries and whatnot, and the tainted baseball, and who knows what the hell's going on. It's going to be a long season, and we'll see if they're really going to catch somebody. But we got a long way to go.
Yeah. I predict that Ohtani will win the home run derby and the All-Star game.
Yeah.
That's a bad boy. And I said last week about Acuna. If y'all haven't been watching this guy from Atlanta, he is something special to watch. Black, they already unveiled the women's basketball roster for the Olympics. And look out, Candace Parker is balling in Chicago. Chicago is on a winning streak, and they want in the playoffs. Give me your WNBA report, sir.
Yes, sir. I said last week that, she came back last week and she won the first game. And I was like, okay, Candace Parker's back. That's nice. Welcome back. Welcome back. And I didn't expect this, bro. I just didn't expect this.
You got retired.
Yes, man. I gave this speech. It's time to, come to television, Candace. We want to see you on a regular basis on TV all year long, just not during the WNBA. But hey, not too long ago, man. A couple of days ago, she put in 23 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists, where Chicago Sky beat the New York Liberty. And they've won 6 straight since she's been back. 6 straight. And they're looking good headed towards the playoffs. Tina Charles is doing her thing as well in the Washington Mystics. And it's funny because she's on a team that right now is not playing great basketball. So now kind of looking at it too much. But this young lady had 34 points, 16 rebounds. I said that correctly. 16 rebounds and 5 assists. And they took down the Seattle Storm. Yes, the Storm, the number 1 team right now in the WNBA. They took them down. They took them down easy. If we have forgot, I will remind that they're celebrating their 25th anniversary the whole season long. And there was a game on Sunday between the New York Liberty and the LA Sparks, I'm not mistaken, where that was the initial game 25 years ago that started the league, and they brought it back, and they did this year, which was nice, which was real nice. But they're balling. I'm happy to see Candace Parker back. It's going to be interesting to see because things are starting to tighten up a little bit. I will say this real quickly. I know last year, not last year, I talked about Janelle Jones going playing Eurosport. This Olympic stuff that's going on with some of these players, man, I just think at some time you got to decide you're going to do this or you're going to do that. I understand Joelle going to play for a league, but these Olympic teams, even some of the NBA players, bro, let some other people do that. Enough of that. Enough. And that's going to be a question, too, we're going to put around on When Black Men Talk. Why are our people rushing to go play for a country that sometimes doesn't care anything about you?
Yeah. Good point. Another question I had, I wanted to get your comments, both of your comments about the NCAA ruling and what the impact will be. They just had a ruling recently, Ice. What do you think the impact to the NCAA organization because they've been holding this money and keeping these athletes from making money. Now the Supreme Court stepped in. What's going to be the impact?
Well, I think you're going to see the NCAA change. They're going to have to change because now when you provide the open door for licensing for these players to kind of basically claim their own contracts, work out their own contracts, they can only have a certain amount of money. You're trying to put parameters in, but when they can use their images and get their own money, I think you're going to see the NCAA change because now you're seeing that with the development of things are happening, the NCAA may not be needed as much as they were before. So they still want to remain a player. I think you're going to see them changing. I think you've seen that already with them changing the way that they're going about it, saying, hey, yeah, we're open to this now. Of course, you're going to be open to it. And if the schools decide to, I read a couple articles that said you could see this could be the demise or the end of the NCAA. And are the schools going to do that? Because they got to come up with their own independent body to run things. And it could possibly happen. But the NCAA has got that one card, baby, called March Madness. So when they got they got the one card, the one caveat, that carrot, and say what you want to, but when they dangle that carrot in front of you, people start their eyes light up. But I think you're going to see literally the way the sports are changing. The one thing I will say this too is, and it's not going to be pretty. I predict it's not going to be pretty, that you're going to see the difference between the haves and the have-nots. Everybody thinks that everybody, now you can go and get your own contract. The money's not going to be going to the whole team. It's going to go to the stars. Right. And women, I no disrespect to y'all, it's going to come down. It's not going to be fair. So everybody needs to go on and put their big draws on, women or men, and just accept the fact that the most talented people are going to get the most money. I'm just telling you 100% right now. That's how it's going to roll. Well, that's not fair. This ain't Title IX. This is about somebody. The people that are spending the money are going to be the ones that are looking for the top-notch athletes or who are going to get the deals. You might get a smaller deal, but you can't be mad at the top-notch guys, a la, like AKA Zion Williamson would have been like, they're going to get the money. And you can't be mad at them because somebody else is not giving you a nice equal deal. This is not about equal pay. This is about the haves and the have-nots. And I think you're going to see that, unfortunately, which is going to make a lot of people mad.
All right. Black, it seems like the NCAA going to try to play nice with the athletes now. What are your thoughts, man?
We've been doing this show for a few years, bro. We've been talking about this, and every time the NCAA would run, duck, and hide. Run, duck, and hide. Then, in the past year, they threw out a little carrot. We'll give you this. The Supreme Court, you said two words that's basically going to change them for a long period of time. The Supreme Court knocked their draws off, bro. And whatever they plan on doing is not going to be enough because the whole cat is out of the bag now. It's out the bag, bro. It is totally, everything is out the bag. That little, a couple of weeks ago, you was talking about what they might do with the football thing. You scrap that, bro.
I don't know. This is going to be a moneymaker, so they may need it.
Bro, they're going to have to sit down here. Seriously, the day is going to come when they're going to have to sit down and realistically find a way to share the wealth with the players. They have no other choice. There is no other way because at some point, if they don't, Congress is going to get in and we'll do it for them. It's just that simple. That's the next road. And here's how arrogant the NCAA is. You have other courts that basically already told them this already, and you allow it to go to the Supreme Court. You had enough time when those other courts were saying yes, 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 to say, okay, let's go do something. Now, they don't pull your drawers down, bro. They pull your drawers down in front of everybody. And it's coming. It's just a matter of time how it develops. And not only that, let's not forget, you have some of these players are going to HBCUs. Some of the top players are going to leave in. Some of these players want to go play elsewhere for a year. So, yes, sir. You're going to see more college coaches start to retire, try to get in the NBA. It's just going to NFL. It's coming. I mean, I saw a thing today where I think Iowa defensive coordinator making $1 million a year. How's that happening in the college football, bro? Defensive, not the head coach, defensive coordinator making $1 million. And what are the kids making? change is coming, bro. They may want to take his contract back too because a change. I can't say how, but trust me, the courts and Congress is on to the NCAA, and the change. If they don't do something real fast, they're going to do something for them. This day of basically you come in and get a scholarship and make us millions are over. It's over. It's over. It's done. That's done. So all the people that was Tuberville, Abel's rule, that's enough. All right, we'll see. We'll see. It's over, bro. They made all the money, and even March Madness. Woo!
I'm wondering how that's going to pan out. I'm really wondering how that's going to pan out.
It's coming. It's coming.
Me and Ice are going to talk in overtime about boxing and UFC because Black says I'm still holding on to this fantasy about boxing and all that stuff. Whatever. But we'll talk about that in overtime. Make sure you.
Boxing is your teddy bear.
Yeah, it is, man. I'm hoping that it comes back. So like, comment, subscribe to our channel, and make sure after the show that you check our overtime. We talk about a lot of great stuff. But I want to go to questions from the goons. I'll go with Ice first. What's your question this week, sir?
Well, my question is, you mentioned about, and we talked about it later on, but I have something that really concerned me, and it's WNBA related, and it's the Olympic team. It was at Nneka Okonkwo being left off the team, and I know that they had a council of people that decided who's on the team, and then she was hurt, and then they said, well, she may not come back. And they really kind of weighed that in. Then you heard Don Staley, who's in charge of the team, the head coach, come in like, well, we really had to look at the teams and now players that are healthy now and making the decision. I want to see what y'all think about it because I'm feeling some kind of way from what all I read about why she was left off. I'm feeling some kind of way.
Black?
I didn't go too deep into it, and I think I saw where the head coach of the LA Sparks, Fisher, used the word travesty. Bro, that's not a travesty. It's not. I mean, let's be honest, man. I here again, I don't understand where Black players, I'm just gonna be honest, are making it their destiny to go play in the Olympics. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. It parallels me that you still want that adulation when other things should really be attended to. Don't get me wrong, WNBA has done a great job in social justice. I get that. But I'm just tired of seeing us doing that moonshine dance in the Olympics, bro. I'm tired of it. It's a travesty. They've been kicking Candace Parker off for the past couple of years, bro. Candace Parker has gone on and done her thing in spite of it. So let them do what they do. Seriously. Just because you care for her and you like her, she's not on an Olympic team. Life goes on. It just does. I mean, that's how I feel about it. But why we put so much pressure? You're gonna be able to, even the NBA, like I said earlier, NBA players, you got Durant playing. Bro, you barely made it to an NBA season. I mean, you barely made it. And I just don't understand it. Why is it that everybody wants to run and play in the Olympics? Look, I know why. You want these foreign players to look you up and down. I mean, foreign people to look you up and down that's not living in this country. Bro, I mean, especially the NBA. Thank you.
It's
NBA
a brand.
players,
It's a brand.
you done made enough money, bro.
Yeah.
You done made enough. But I just don't understand. I just don't see where in LA alone, Derek Fisher, with the stuff that's going on with people that look like you, it's a travesty if one woman don't go play as an Olympic team. That's a travesty. When everything else is going on, you had no comment. But if she doesn't make an Olympics team, travesty.
Yeah, I always felt that. And it all started with the Dream Team when Michael and all those guys, Michael Jordan, all those guys went over there. It was about branding. And my thing was, I didn't want the pro athletes to play in the Olympics. I'd rather college players play amateur sports. I know other countries play their pros, but I think our college guys are better than some of the folks around the country. And let's compete a little bit. But once they started putting the pros in, it's all about branding. Michael Jordan took off in 1992 because of branding. And so that's why these players are rushing to get over there and play. It's not about, to me, playing for your country. It's that the whole world will see you, and now you have money coming from everywhere, all over the globe. And so I really didn't really feel some type of way like you feeling, Ice, about her being left off. Black even mentioned it. Candace has been left off there. It's a numbers game. It's politics. And so I really don't have any kind of words for it, but to say that, you know, it's about branding and who they like and who's popular. I'm still pissed off about Isaiah Thomas from the Detroit Pistons being left off of that Olympic team and John Stockton being put in there. John Stockton had no business being on that team. And Christian Laettner, don't let me get on Christian Laettner being on that team. They didn't even put him on the t-shirt with all the guys on the team. So it's about politics. It's about who you know. It's about who they want to kind of brand. And, you know, the Olympics has become money-making, not for the amateur athletes, but those who become stars and get that star power, them making money. And maybe she'll make it next time. But I didn't look at it as, oh, I'm feeling some kind of way that she didn't get picked. I'm like, yeah, that's a tough break. But I always look at it as politics. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I mean, you got a right to feel how you want to, but based on when they left Candace Parker off, and then now with NECA at the same time, when you look at the team, she clearly is one of the better players in the NBA.
True.
She's allowed for the NBA. She deserves to have that brand seen that way. She's never been part of the Olympic team. So the opportunity is there. And then for them to come up with the thing that she's not going to be healthy, they've already said that she would be healthy enough to compete. They just didn't want her on that. And I wish they would just say that. I wish they would just flat out come out and say that instead of saying, well, if she was healthy, we would consider bullshit. No. And I said the same thing about Candace Parker. And granted, you may not think the Olympic team is all that. But when you talk about the best players, I want to see the best players play. And just come out and say you don't like her because whatever it is. If you want to have more gay players on there, roll with that shit. But don't sit over here and tell me like, oh, well, we're supposed to be understanding. No. You know, this young lady represents the WNBA in a number of ways, always fighting out there trying to get them so they can play another year. And she can't make it even as a damn ambassador. I ain't feeling that. They lucky they even having the damn 25th season. Yeah, you heard me say that. You heard me say that. She's one of the classiest people in that damn league, and they're making a damn mistake. That's just me. So do not keep rolling with it. Keep putting what you want to do and doing what you will. But man, when you got quality people on there, there's no reason why they couldn't held the spot for her. That's just me. Plus, she can play.
Yeah. Ice Water has spoken.
Ice, you touched on one word, bro. I think it played a part with Candace Parker too. Gay, bro.
Yeah.
Gay. Yeah. And gayness moves the WNBA much more than we want to acknowledge and give credit to. And if you let's just say you got 10 players and 9 or 10 of them gay, and you're not, they don't want you in. No matter what she stands for, who she is. It's that crazy, bro. It's just my thought process. But it's much more prevalent in the politics of the WNBA than we acknowledge and give pressure and give attention to. And it comes down to it. Because you can't tell me there was a reason to leave Candace Parker off. You can't tell me. Right. 2 or 3 times, you cannot. How can you tell me? But see, Candace Parker doesn't go that way. She speaks her mind. She stands up. So why would they want to take her to a country with 6, 7 other gay women? I thought the dumbest thing to me, it was more obvious and blatant a couple of years ago when the WNBA gave Candace Parker a chance to choose, and they gave Ella Dawn a chance to choose an all-star game. Ella Dawn chose all gay players. Candace Parker went the opposite direction. That's all you had to say.
I remember that.
Yes, it's on grand scam. So they're not going to come out and say it. Yeah, she's healthy, but they're going to find some excuse, but that's the bottom line, bro. They're not going to Disney World. They're going to the Olympics. And they don't, so if you ain't eating carpet sometimes.
Put the women and children to bed. This is the Goon Squad. Black, what's your question?
I came across this today, man, when I wanted to get you two guys' opinion. It was a story that popped that said Griffin, when he came out of Detroit, because Detroit, he lost about 11, 13 million of his money when he kind of left Detroit. And there was other teams that had to basically kind of pay Detroit money if they wanted his services. Boston was one of the first suitors that stepped up. But Griffin came out and said there's a player on the Boston Celtics told him personally, do not choose the Celtics. There's too much dysfunction going on here.
Wow. Ice?
Now, I believe that. I really do. I mean, I believe that, and particularly with somebody that he's close to and maybe can make a connection with. I mean, it's like, dudes, you don't want to be here. If you trying to win the championship or even get close to it, you don't want to be here because we're not moving that route. I think he'll greatly appreciated that because he's in the later years of his career, and all of a sudden he got rejuvenated, a la Bill Walton. I tried to tell y'all thought I was playing. Anyway, that's for another day. Tried to tell y'all that. Oh well, he's not the same guy he was. Okay, he looked pretty damn good to me. Anyway, but I think that it's solid and it's right on point. So hey, if somebody tells you if they're in the city on the team and they're telling you that the chemistry and thing with the environment around here sucks, you don't want to be here. I mean, why would you go there? I mean, it's not all that money, right? They're not they're gonna make you rich again. But yeah, I'm sure that played a major part as to why he changed his mind and went somewhere else. And if somebody's sitting in the seat, why would you not listen to what they have to say and just use that type of information to make your decision?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people really kind of pass over the fact that NBA players, professional players talk. They talk. So it's just not the GMs talking, and I don't know how you stop that from players just talking and say, hey, man, you might want to be here. This is what I get, or stay clear because I'm about to bounce. So-and-so about to bounce. They're disorganized. This coach ain't about this, such and such and such. So they talk. And so I think that makes a lot of difference where players go to play because we're thinking they're going to go here because they make a nice fit. But there are players, existing players that are saying, you know what? You may not want to make the same mistake I make. I'm going to be out here first train, getting out of here pretty soon. So you might want to go somewhere else instead of, coming here. So what was interesting is with Boston is that the former head coach kicks up to the front office. He goes and gets Alford, the one they let walk. They bring him back and get rid of the point guard they were hungry to try to get after Kyrie Irving left. And so you could tell that there was some dysfunction or a disagreement with how they were handling certain trades and situation acquisition players just by that move. It wasn't even a week after he took the position where he, hit the button and said, you know what, Kimba, you got to go. And I got to bring my guy back because he fits more with this team. If Brad Stevens wasn't in that role, I don't think the Boston Celtics make that move. And maybe because Danny Ainge left, he felt the need that I can step in here and I can make the moves that will make this team better. Black?
Well, Boston just hired their head coach, man. I think it's Udonis.
Right.
Yeah, they just hired him. And I was reading also that Stevens and the cat you said got traded or not, they bumped heads all season, bro.
Yeah.
All season they bumped heads quietly. So I'm to the believe it might have been that cat that told him not to come. he might have been the one. I when that trade happened, I was shocked because usually nobody makes a trade this time of the year. Very seldom to hear a trade happens during playoffs. So it's like you trade your point guard during the playoffs. You just got lost, and all of a sudden your point guard is gone in a couple of days. I think Boston was smart in a way, but I'm not sure it's going to pan out because I said this a few times. I think he lost those players when he favored the young man from Butler, when he was not totally recovered, kept playing him all those minutes. He lost the team, bro. So I'm surprised he didn't get fired along with Danny Ainge in a sense, and he's able to become a general manager. So I'm curious to see how this new coach comes out, how they kind of take them. I hope they do. But if they kind of basically don't buy into him, Stevens is in trouble because at some point, Boston's not used to just constantly losing over and over again. And that team is definitely too talented. So I think the dysfunction was from Danny Ainge, and I think Stevens just kind of went along, and it seems that ownership likes him. But yes, there was some dysfunction going on. And let's be honest, Danny Ainge had a lot of picks, did nothing with them, bro. Nothing.
Yeah. I have a quick question I want to bring to both of you that I put on our topics list. Get ready for another bowl game, Jimmy Kimmel Bowl in football. Yeah, that's right. Jimmy Kimmel has his own bowl game in NCAA football. This is getting ridiculous. What are your thoughts to it, Ice?
Well, I told you before, the bowl is not gonna matter. I know Black Thor doesn't think that playoff thing is gonna happen. It's happening, bro. It's happening because what they're gonna do, they're gonna drive the money to the schools. Think about this. Coastal Carolina, the 12th seed. they get money for their school. All you got to be is number 12. 12 best. You don't have to be 10. You ain't got to be number 5. 12. 12 best, you get money. And that playing, that's why they're pushing it, because they lost a lot of money. They're pushing it. And the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl is going to be a farce, because now what they're going to have to do, they're going to take these bowl games and they're going to make them part of the playoffs. So now the playoffs, you get these 12 teams in there, and then you also get some other teams like Fresno State. And now what's ironic about it is when they bring up this 12 bowl system, 12-team bowl system, Notre Dame, because they're not in a conference, is always going to have to be on the outside. They'll never be in the 4, which means if you do the math, the teams in the top 4 will only have to play basically 2 games to get to the championship, right, to win it all. Teams outside of that have to play 4 games to win it all. So guess what, Notre Dame? Because you're not in the conference, you never will be in the top 4. So you will have to win 4 games. Probably not, but you will have to win 4 if you want to win the championship. So guess what? Because you're not in a conference, you don't get to do that. So they have just screwed themselves. Maybe they'll jump
into the ACC.
Yeah, ACC one more time. Yeah, they're kind of like, not this year. Yeah, maybe not this. Yeah, maybe this. Okay, they're in and out. So they get a temporary pass because we know they don't want to join the Big Ten. Wink, wink.
Which would make sense. It would make perfect sense.
Look, too much competition. Wink, wink.
It would make perfect sense for them to be in the Big Ten.
Especially in football. Wink, wink.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know, man. I don't. It's to me, it's a dog. That's more of a dog and pony. I mean, that's dog and pony. I mean,
I got another one for you. It's a dog and pony show too. Go ahead.
No, but it is. It's comical. I mean, it's just realistically, and I hear what I'm saying about, how they're going to basically do the bowl games. It makes sense that way because they ain't giving up the money from the bowl games, bro. Bowl games are all about marketing and people have their name out front. That's a lot of money, man. So if they can find a way, but here again, at the end of the day, the way I structure and said it, those teams that got to win 4 games, they're never going to win a championship. We didn't know it. Anywhere in the world, time you don't play 2 games, and you got to come play in Alabama, Georgia, somebody. Come on, anyway you run the gauntlet, have a true chance at winning a championship.
Can I throw one thing in there? You're right, but with that being said, you got to check that you wasn't getting before.
Yeah,
you get a check.
All about the money. It's all about the money.
Yeah, you get a check at 12, and you wasn't getting before.
Here and again, the kids are going to take more wear and tear in their body presently and not getting a dime for it. That's the bottom line.
Well, one thing, they haven't talked to the kids either. They haven't had focus group with the players and see how they feel about it, because that's usually during exam weeks and things of that sort, how it's going to impact them academically, which the NCAA sports don't really care about kids academically.
Well, one last thing at you. One of the things, or if you another question, however you want to roll with it.
Go ahead.
One thing I'm going to say is, here's one of the things that NCAA threw back at them was, well, they heard of things saying basically technically that the players it was pay for play. Because when you go to the bowl game, you get a package with up to $600 package, which means your Xbox and everything else too, up to $600, tax free. You just get to take that and go home with it. So they're like, well, technically they do get paid because we pay them to play them in the bowl. but then when they're not the Xbox, they get all of the other goodies and whatever the latest electronics are, up to $600. That nobody, you take that like a gift basket, $600 gift basket, and you just go home, and nobody even talks about it.
I'm gonna throw this question out because it's on our list, but just some quick hitters on this. The Harlem Globetrotters, they went up to Adam Silver and they said, "Make us an NBA franchise right now." Black. The Harlem Globetrotters, they're going to be an NBA franchise. We want in right now.
Nah. Now, if you want some of their players want to kind of get, try out and get on different teams, I'm all for it.
There won't be a team.
That's just not happening, bro. I wouldn't even want to see it.
They did when they were matched up against an NBA team, I think years ago, they beat two NBA teams. I think it was the Lakers. I think they beat them twice when they were in their heyday. But the Harlem Globetrotters said, we want in, Ice.
I'm gonna just say this, no disrespect. You know, we got you rolling with this Black Lives Matter thing, this whole African American thing. People feeling real good. We just got Juneteenth, so everybody coming out. I'm gonna just say this: if you don't want to do that on the real tip, you should have had it back in the day. If you're gonna make them a real franchise, when you had the likes of Marcus Haynes, you had Wilt Chamberlain playing for the Harlem Globetrotters. So these guys now, I don't really know the new Globetrotters. But there were some legitimate ballers on there, even with Meadowlark Lemon and other cats like that, Curly Neal. You had true ballers on there that were really playing. It's kind of like the old Negro leagues. They were really balling. And now these guys think they just kind of own up like they deserve it. I'm feeling that, bro. Nah, look, they're trying to get the glory off the backs of the real ballers.
Yeah.
You look at Marcus Haynes when he was dropping almost 50 points, or sometimes, you know, when he was back at the historically black colleges. They were ballers, bro. No disrespect to the gentleman, but nah, man. In the NBA,
yeah.
Let's start with the G League, bro.
Yeah, watch this, Black. Watch this, Black. Maybe they can play exhibition games against the NBA and get paid for pay-per-view. How about that?
Why not? Hey, then that could be part of the boxing, the pseudo boxing, right? There you go. The Snoop Dogg and the cannabis sponsor.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah, what the hell?
All comes full circle.
Mike Tyson. Yeah, Mike Tyson.
Entertainment.
Well, Mike Tyson. Come on, man.
Black, last second shot, man.
I understand if you bring a team to Super Bowls, teams should kind of basically look at you in a certain way. But the New York Giants, bringing Eli back to work in the community, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, let's get real. Let's get real. You're going to send Howdy Doody out to New York to do what? To do what? Just bring him back and pay him. And Eli, you only been out of the game for 2 or 3 years. You don't know how to do it yourself, bro? You have no clue what to do it yourself on a daily basis. You want to come back and just kick around with the Giants? It's time to grow up, bro. Your father got you to New York. You're basically, your name sustains you for the most part. It hasn't been your play. It's time to move on, son. It's time to move on.
Ice, last second shot.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk about it, and I wanted to, but I'm going to say it now. It's the running joke. Okay, yes, Brooklyn is listening to offers to Kyrie. Okay, again, they listening. you trade Kyrie Irving and see what that does to Durant. I'm just trying to tell you. Are you crazy? I went, well, they don't like him. The dude can play. I told you before. He don't care. I don't care what size he said the earth is on or what is it flat around, whatever. The guy can play. I'm telling you, Brooklyn, trading, see what happens. All I'm saying is, too, I understand the health issues. When the guy is on the court and he's healthy, he can play. I think there's a lot of glossed over stuff, people trying to make headlines, and we'll see it is. Also, too, nobody talks about the fact that the general manager even came out before and said he's thinking about extending Harden, Durant, and Kyrie. Where's that story at? Yeah, where's that story at?
All I can say is that's why we didn't want him in Manhattan. And hello, Zion. You ain't happy in New Orleans?
Sir.
Come on over to the Knicks.
1 year, baby, and counting.
I told you, it can happen. It can happen. But my last second shot is say it ain't so, Herm Edwards. Say it ain't so. ASU football alleged with some recruiting violations. You might see Herm Edwards back on ESPN. Hopefully you can get your job back on ESPN. But say it ain't so, Herm. I'm rooting for you, bro. I'm rooting for you. That's our show. We will take it up in overtime. Like, comment, subscribe to our channel. We will see you next week. Peace.
It's not about Irvin playing or whatever. The brother went AWOL. This is not the general manager. This is probably the owner talking. I want that motherfucker out of here. The brother went AWOL for weeks, did not show up, and they watched him on a Zoom call in Manhattan. He wouldn't call nobody. He said nothing. You got to realize, if you're an owner that have millions, you're not tolerating that insubordination, bro. That's what this comes down to. It's not about him being hurt. It's not about that. It's just that I don't, and this is just my personal opinion. I don't think Kyrie is that hurt this time around, bro. I just don't think so. Kyrie was quiet, it was kept. His first child was born about a week ago. He was at the hospital. He didn't want to play. He didn't want to play. So I'm just saying from afar, when you look at all that smoke, they're tired of him. He's something to deal with, and they're tired. So if Kevin Durant wants to leave, he ain't walking for that contract. He ain't like Kevin Durant can go, I'll see you, go play somewhere else. No, he got a contract. He may not be happy, but he's gonna play. He's gonna dribble that damn basketball. So I think this is from the owners, not the general manager, or maybe not the head coach. I think the owner is. I mean, realistically, you're paying someone that tells you when I want to play, how I'm going to play, and if I don't want to play, I'm not playing. That's not happening, bro. And that's why I think they're trying to shop him. Like I said, a week ago, his baby's born. He only popped up at what, game 7? He showed up at game 7. What happened when you're hurt? You're supposed to be there with an ankle. You can't make it on the sideline with an ankle. Nah, he wanted to be in the hospital with his family, with the girl, with his child, bro. He wanted to be there, not just one day, all the time. But guess what? You got this contract here, bro. You got this. You signed this. Wait a minute. You got to play basketball. People have babies every day. The playoffs is only in the fall. I mean, in the spring. I mean, the summer.
Well, I mean, I think it's easy to say that we're right after the season. I'll believe it when I see it. If they get rid of him, then I'll be the first one to go, yeah. I believe when there's a lot of people chop. They because I think we'll see what happens. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm gonna leave that right there.
And I agree with you, but I think sometimes you don't realize the person that signs the check has the last say so. No matter what.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I agree with that. But I believe it when I see it about them getting rid of him.
Yeah, but he needs to do this with franchises, man, because he pulled the doozy with Cleveland. He went to Boston and tore them inside out.
Yes.
Tore them inside out.
Yes.
I mean, they haven't recovered.
And I said that when he was there. I said that year he was watching them play in the playoffs. You saw it. And I said then, trade him. Trade him.
That's right. He was hurt during the playoffs. That's right. That's right.
Yes. I said that then. That's who Kyrie Irving is. He's about himself. He's selfish. He just want to come out every now and then so I can do it and go back. And I think what's the name wasn't, he hasn't been around long enough, the head coach, to say anything. But this is coming from ownership. Ownership. We're tired of him. No, you can't, like what's the name say, you can't win with him. Like a secretary.
Hey, and it might be a meeting of the minds. Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll see.
If somebody offers up something of decency, that brother's gone. I'll say that right now. It takes a team. It ain't got to be much. It's just somebody comes with something because their bench ain't bad. Their bench not bad. If you tell me Harden's healthy, they want to miss him that much? Hell, he didn't play most of the season anyway. He didn't play.
That's what we're going to agree to disagree on, brother. We'll see.
All right. I know you're in love with him.
Now, I ain't in love with him. Now, it ain't even about that, though. But just to say you're going to bounce and get somebody else, they can't get a guy hit an open three-point shot, which would have advanced them.
You went to 7 games, bro, without him.
No doubt.
Without him.
No doubt.
That's the thing. You went to 7 games. It'd be a different story if they got bounced early, they got swept. You went to 7 games without him.
And then I remember when he was with Boston, how well they played without him.
Thank you.
And I remember Black saying, oh, they got to launch him because they're playing better without him. He's just a distraction. So it just seems like this is something that follows him from team to team to team.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
It's getting worse. Yeah.
He did this at Duke. He didn't hardly play the season at Duke. When they made the tournament, he jumps in. He was supposed to be hurt all year. He jumped in the tournament. They didn't win that year, but he jumped in because he was supposed to be a high draft pick. So he wanted to show the whole country what he could do. He did. Cleveland picked him up. Business decision. And maybe he made a business.
One of the fights that people are trying to look at or get into is with, of course, Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao at 147. I think that's a big fight. It's a big fight in a number of ways. Errol Spence has been the guy at welterweight that has shown us what he's capable of doing. people love Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is an international icon, and at
Yes.
40 some years old, everybody loves him. The other really wild card thing about it is the fact is that Terrence Crawford has been put to the side.
Yeah.
He's been left out, and he's just to the point where he said he's going to move up to maybe 154 and maybe take on
Wow.
something bigger. Yeah, because
Wow.
there's nothing left from 147, and maybe hope he can pick up some scraps. But that's just Bob Arum not being able to get him the fights. So stuff like that too. And then there's also talk too that maybe Danny Garcia may move up to 154.
So do you anticipate a Garcia and Crawford fight coming up?
It could, but I think the problem with that though is Crawford's looking for bigger fish. Danny Garcia, the last couple of times, even though he's been a legitimate champion, it would be not a fight. It's kind of a walk, not a walkover fight, but it's an average fight for him. He's looking for belts, and I think when he goes to 154, he's going to be looking for somebody he can get a belt from, because otherwise, why not? That's the case. Your number one mandatory was Sean Porter
Right.
at 47, but he doesn't want that fight. And then if you win that fight, I think you automatically get the winner of Pacquiao and Spence. But that would be a great fight. You have the possibility of lightweights is great because you got Teofimo Lopez, who actually beat Vasily
Right.
Lomachenko. But these are some of the dream fights people want to see is Teofimo Lopez versus Gervonta Davis.
That would be nice.
Yes, it would be, especially at lightweight at 140. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. Be another good fight. These are upcoming guys. Guys you need to be looking out for. Jojo Diaz. Of course, maybe Gary Russell Jr. versus Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
Gary Russell is so small and he only fights once every 2 years, but he's been calling out people from that standpoint. Also, too, are Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah, your play son.
Yeah,
Didn't he win recently?
Yeah, he fought recently and he was dominant, but he really wasn't as impactful as most people think. But he might be moving up. He's at fighting like that 130, 135. Maybe he's been talking about he would love to get into a fight with get out there with Ryan Garcia, or actually with he wanted to fight Lomachenko, but that has not come to fruition. And then of course the return of Leah Santa Cruz. Leah Santa Cruz, of course, got knocked out by Gervonta Davis. They've been looking for that, but maybe Leah Santa Cruz versus Oscar Valdez. And another guy to really look out for, people love Devin Haney. Devin Haney's been rising up in the lightweight division. So now what you have is like a lot of guys around 135, 140, or going to 135 moving up. And I'm telling you, if you don't do nothing else, pay attention for boxing, the true boxing fans, pay attention to 135 and 140. Because the names I mentioned before, Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney. When you hear those names, turn on your television set. You have to turn your TV on because these are going to Teofimo Lopez. These are guys are really top-notch guys. They're the future of boxing, as we said too. And then, of course, Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford. We know those names. Middleweights are pretty good too. They're both Charlo brothers. Yeah. So these are, when you hear those names, the Charlo brothers, Jamel and Jamal Charlo, you want to turn your TV set on. Also too, Demetrius Andre over in that area too.
Guy that Canelo is afraid to fight.
Yeah, but Canelo's the king, so he can go from 175 down to 168 and back, clean that division, and maybe drop down to 160. But truth be told, there are a lot of fights. You got David Benavidez as well, right up there around that middleweight area too. But let's keep it real, people. If you want to see some fights, you have Wilder and Fury coming up. Anthony Joshua has a fight coming up as well. There might be a possibility. You might want to also keep an eye on Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz, one of my favorite guys. Nobody wants to fight, but there's so many guys. So people want to see these. You're going to see what you saw. Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting again too, but we want to see Canelo versus Jamal Charlo, right? Triple G versus Demetrius Andre, right? And guys like Jared Hurd just lost, but you want to see Jason Rosario versus Jared Hurd. Julian Williams is still around. Maybe Julian Williams versus Tony Harrison, or Julian Williams versus Erickson Lubin,
Yeah.
another guy who really is tough. So this, I know that's a lot of names for you guys out there, but I'm telling you, there is legitimate boxing out there, guys you want to see. Showstoppers, guys that you go, now that's boxing.
Now there was a Japanese fighter that I texted you about, who is the knockout artist. He fought, I think, on the same card as Dog Bay, who came back after he lost his latest fight. He has, I guess, a new trainer, and he has, in his corner some new folks to help him get his head straight. I forget the name of I think it's a Japanese fighter.
Yeah, I think was it a Noane or something to that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
And I asked you, I think, is he really serious? This guy's a serious kind of champion or contender?
If it's the same guy Naoe, aka the monster, is a real
Monster,
deal.
yeah.
Yeah, the monster's the real deal. Yeah, I think he's just kind of green in a lot of ways.
Okay.
But he's legit. I know that Lomachenko is fighting Nakatani, another guy that's pretty good. Nakatani's kind of a little bit more wild, but it's going to be a hell of a fight between them two if they have not fought already. Lomachenko and Nakatani. Nakatani's a really thin, lanky kind of guy with a lot of power in his hands. And now they're trying to find out was the upset of Teofimo Lopez over Lomachenko, was it something that was just a fluke, or is it something he's really, past his prime and needs to kind of walk away? So the fight with Nakatani versus Vasily Lomachenko will be a great test of that. There's so many.
Looking forward to that fight. I want to see how Lomachenko recovers after being beat by Lopez, and he got beat soundly. It wasn't like it was close. It was like he got outclassed in that fight.
Yeah, and then even when we're watching when Charlo fought recently this past week, he had a fight on his hands.
Yeah,
he got his eye kind of banged up, and he thought it was a headbutt. But the guy that he fought, I think it was Montiel, something to that effect, really was trying to give him the business. But he said the guy was a real fighter. But it shows you that he's not afraid to fight. So there are some legitimate fighters out there, ladies and gentlemen, more than exhibitions. And I think, like I said, anything you can't go wrong. You start looking around 130, 135. We're talking about lightweight, okay? Lightweight, junior welterweight, stuff like that, even with the featherweight. There's some class guys out there. And I think what you're going to see now that the COVID protocols and measurements are being lifted, the reason why we're not seeing a lot of quality boxing matches, in my opinion, is the way that fighters make their money is at the gate and then on pay-per-view. So now you can start making those quality fights again, because now we can put people back in the arena.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's
so
really good.
That's what a lot of people don't understand. Well, I ain't seeing this fight. How quickly, once we found out that the protocols were being lifted, did we get Pacquiao versus Spence?
Right.
So the guys want to make money. Real fighters really want to make money. And I think that's something that you have to watch out for.
Well, I'm looking forward to all the fights that are coming up. I even find myself watching the old fights. I just gotta watch some good fights.
Oh yeah, I mean there's something to the point. I think from a history standpoint, to be able to go back and watch some real fights. Like I was telling somebody, you really want to see and think about how far fighters have come. You really want to come up as far as they have improved. If you really want to see how talented somebody is, go back and watch. I was watching this the other day, part of it. Go back and watch Canelo Alvarez versus Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that fight. And then watch how Canelo now is the guy. He's really advanced and he's improved dramatically. But go back and watch how Floyd was
couldn't touch Floyd.
Right. And then Floyd was able to just kind of dominate him.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you watch, see the improvement, and you can tell the lessons he learned from Floyd, because nobody could do that to Canelo early on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he I remember seeing it that night, and me and my buddy were watching it at this Rivers Casino here in Illinois, in Chicago, outside of Chicago. And I said, Floyd just gave him a boxing lesson. Yeah. He just took him to school, and like, this is how you're not on this level, but I'm gonna show you why I'm that much better than you in this fight.
And just watching these fights, like Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hearns 1.
Yeah.
I mean, just that point where Ray Leonard was trying to stay away from him. He came back later on, Thomas Hearns was lost, was losing his stamina. But if you go back and you watch in the later rounds and it gets worse, 8, 9, or whatever, you start to see the deterioration of Sugar Ray's
His
eye.
retina, yeah.
Right before you start to see this detached retina starting to worsen. And you're like, man, what he had to do in order to win that fight, because everybody thought Thomas Hearns was going to knock him out.
Yeah.
But he never quit. So those are classics where you see that. I mean, we always talk about Hearns and Hagler. I mean, yeah, it was great 3 rounds and whatnot. But when you see the strategy of these guys fighting, Leonard, Hearns, one, it just goes a long way. And then 2, I don't know how many people have really watched Frazier Ali 1 and then Frazier Ali 2. And another great fight, because Frazier was on his way. I'll tell you this. If you like boxing, Frazier, after he beat Ali, was on his way. He's like, I'm going to be champion for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Frazier versus Foreman 1.
Yeah.
It tells you styles make fights.
Yeah, because Foreman, I mean, that was a brutal beating.
And when you go back and look at the records, you never seen Joe Frazier get beat like that.
No,
ever.
Never.
Even the rest of his career.
Yeah.
It was out. George Foreman was his kryptonite.
Yeah. I Sugar Ray Leonard was never one of my favorite boxers, but what I always admired about him is he was so smart. He was just so smart in the ring. And he studied his opponent and he knew exactly what he needed to do to beat somebody. And they asked him, I think years ago, how would you beat Mayweather? And he broke it down. This is how I would beat Mayweather. And you could just, read the intelligence of this man.
Yeah.
Man, this is how I would approach him. This is what I would do. He likes to do this. I would do that. And he would kind of just think the fight and then go out there and execute it. So he's not one of my favorite fighters, but I felt like he was one of the smartest in that ring.
I clearly agree with that 100%. And he has a great appreciation for Mayweather because he knows what it takes.
Yes.
Not to get hit.
Yes.
He was a master at that early on, and then he knows what he would have to do. I think that would have been a hell of a fight. One of the other things we brought up on another boxing show was the fact of that, and I'm gonna throw this at you, just see where you're at. And these guys are in their prime. Okay, so we're not talking about older guys, talking about in their prime.
Okay.
The matchup of Iron Mike Tyson versus Joe Frazier.
That would have been tough. That would have been tough. That would be a fight I would like to see.
Yeah.
How would Tyson fare against that hook of Joe Frazier?
Yeah, we brought that down, and we all had our ideas about what was happening, but I think that's the part of it too, where Mike Tyson really never had to fight anybody that fought him and try to beat him at his own game.
Or could Joe Frazier take a Mike Tyson bolo punch?
I think he could. But I think we both, excuse me, the guys on the show said we thought Frazier would win.
Really?
Yeah, when we said that, because of the fact that Frazier was the consummate professional when it came to inside fighting. Mike Tyson was the uppercut, and he does bolo and everything there too. But you imagine, Mike Tyson never had anybody that will put their forehead right on his chest.
Right on his chest, yeah.
That was Joe Frazier. And imagine Joe Frazier fighting. Joe Frazier never fought anybody his size.
They were always bigger.
So think about that too. Think about that, and then the punishment that he was able to endure, and he's not going anywhere. Joe Frazier got rocked. I mean, the only person we ever saw Joe Frazier, the person putting him down was Foreman.
Yeah.
But I would love to see that fight. I think that the technical skills too, and there's no disrespect to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, who he was, but I think because Joe Frazier fought so many different styles and faced so many different opponents, I think his experience would help him outlast Tyson.
And he's Philly tough, so you can't,
Yeah, and I think that's where Mike Tyson would, if he could catch him, yeah. But I mean, from the start, Joe Frazier's in your face.
Mm-hmm.
What would that do for Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
That would have been a hell of a fight. I would love to watch that. I would pay money to see that fight.
That's a good point. Good point. Maybe one day they'll invent some digital sports thing where they have these fighters fight and we could see that. I'd rather watch that than some of these exhibitions.
Oh yeah, well, I would too, because for the longest time they used to always say, and you can watch the amateur fight. They have an amateur fight of when Thomas Ferns faced Aaron Pryor.
Ooh, I gotta look that up.
I looked it up, and Pryor was in his career, bro.
Yeah.
And they say it's a reason why, even though he was big, they went on to be larger and bigger men at 147 than Aaron Pryor ever was. So there's a reason why Hearns never fought Pryor, and there's a reason.
And Sugar Ray never fought Pryor either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a reason.
that little dude was tough. He was tough. And he kept coming.
And if you go back and you watch the amateur fight when he fought Thomas Hearns,
mm-hmm.
you can see if he's doing that now. Imagine what he would have done as a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just smaller, and he probably. Yeah. But when they were at that same weight, that's a hell of a show. So that's why I like going back and watching even some of the amateur sparring sessions. Kind of gives you an idea of what it might have been like.